My colleague Hafiz would like to present COVID-19 impact analysis on Montreal region, which we use StreetLight Data as a data source. Background and overview. Figure shows study area that was broken to 10 zones. The green dot shows A25 toll bridge, which owned by TransUrban, and the non-toll bridge 125. The analysis focusing on the regional level, toll bridge, and non-toll bridge. StreetLight origin and destination data was used to understand historical trend and traffic profiles, trip purposes, trip length, VMT, income, education, family status. Analysis procedure. In StreetLight Data, we use origin and destination through middle filters analysis. We also selected both trip attributes and traveler attributes. We use R and Python to process the data and visualize the data. Historical trend, regional, and bridges. The figure shows StreetLight volume trends. As you can see, the significant drop in total OD on Montreal regions after first COVID case and travel restriction in March through April in 2020. The slow recovery trends can be observed for the rest of the 2020. The table shows percentage change between 2020 and 2019. Looking at the historical StreetLight volume trend on A25 and 125 bridge, we can see that Q1 in 2020 was comparable to Q1 in 2019. But in Q2, we can observe 25% lower trip on 125 and 17% drop on A25, which is a toll bridge. This is not surprising because the toll on A25 bridge was suspended from March to May. Once the toll resumed in Q3, we can see that A25 trip drop was slightly higher than 125 bridge. Traffic profile and recovery by zones. The figure shows total origin trips and destination trips for each zones. The highest percentage drop in trip volume can be seen on Montreal downtown in Zone 10. Zone 5 and 9, which is the outskirts of the Montreal, are the two zones that recover back to the 19 traffic level. Next, we will look at the hourly profile on A25 and 125 bridge from January to December for the past 3 years. We plot StreetLight volume on y-axis and hour on x-axis. As you can see, the most obvious drop is on April 2020 compared to other months. The StreetLight data also shows the COVID is not only impact the number of trips, but also the travel pattern through time of the day. Hourly profile from May 2020 onward, which we don't see much congestion on AM peak, and AM peak slightly shift to the right near AM shoulder time. We can also see that it's much flatter profile during the midday. And interestingly, the traffic volume during the midday in 2020 are higher than 2019 and 2018 due to the trip that being shifted from peak period to the midday. Lastly, we see that the hourly profile returned back to normal shape in September 2020 before dropping again in November due to new restriction in Q4. Similarly, for 125 bridge, we see the StreetLight volume drop in April 2020 but the profile recovers 1 to 2 months faster than A25 toll bridge. As you can see here, the hourly profile for this toll-free bridge almost returned to normal profile in July and fully returned to normal shape by August 2020.
Thank you so much, Worapong. So I'll continue for the rest of the slides. Next, we'll look at the trip and traveler attributes produced from the OD with media filter analysis by StreetLight Data. From these slides onwards, we will focus only in comparing the attributes between the A25 bridge and Route 125 bridge. We are not covering the regional level in this presentation. First, we will look at the trip purpose. We plotted the home-based work, home-based other, and non-home-based trip share on the left for A25 and Route 125 bridge. Note that this is a share and is summed up to 100%. First thing we can see is A25 generally has higher home-based work trip share compared to the Route 125 even before the pandemic by about 2% I would say, and the share is gaining due to the drop in non-home-based trip represented by the green line once the pandemic hit the region. In terms of total trip and recovery, which can be seen from this table, the non-home-based trip is the slowest to recover back to 2019 level compared to the other homebound trip. There are some months where the home-based work trips in 2020 for both bridges are higher than the 2019 level, as you can see around August to October based on the StreetLight data. Next, education. Similar to the whole region analysis, which is not covered in these slides, high school, college traveler, the blue line here makes majority of the trips for both A25 and Route 125. We also see that no high school traveler return to the road slightly faster than other group, especially on A25. Next, we'll talk about the income. This can be somehow correlated to the education level as shown in the previous slides. StreetLight has more than 3 income groups or range, but we consolidated to 3 to make the comparison easier. The green line here representing income above 60,000, or we can group them as a high income traveler. As you can see here, the A25 generally has higher share of high income traveler than the Route 125 bridge, approximately 19% on the A25 bridge and 15% on a non-toll bridge. We also see that the low income traveler, which is the red line here, gained significantly in terms of share once the pandemic hit, and the pattern is more obvious on A25. From the table, the trip recovery for low and medium income traveler are faster for both bridges compared to the high income traveler, which can be associated to high income traveler tend to have more flexibility in working from home. We can also see that there are more low and medium income traveler in May 2020 compared to May 2019 on A25 bridge. Again, this can be explained due to the toll-free or toll suspended period on the A25 bridge. Final point that we want to make here from this data is that high income traveler recover slightly faster on toll bridge than the non-toll bridge. Next, we'll look at the traveler with or without kids from the StreetLight data. We can see that A25 generally has more share of traveler with kids than the Route 125 by about 1 to 2%, not much different actually. And trips without kids recover faster on both bridges by looking at the table above. It is also interesting to see that there's a sharp increase in share for travel with no kids at the end of 2020 for A25 when the total or overall trips drop in December 2020. The final attributes that we'll be looking at is the trip length. Again, we are grouping it into 3 categories. A25 has more long trips when comparing the green line on both graphs, even more than the short trips, the red line in the first figure. This makes sense because typically toll road attract external traveler to use the facilities. This plot and table also tell us that long trip is higher in 2020 compared to 2019 since it has a positive percentage value. And finally, long trip gain more share when we compare the 3 groups due to the decline in medium length trip. Next will be the conclusion. After looking at all 3 data sets, regional, A25, and Route 125, we can safely assume that COVID-19 has more negative impact on a non-home-based trip, and homebound trips recover faster than the others. And as Worapong mentioned, trips drops affect the zones closer to downtown compared to the suburban zones. In general, travelers with attributes such as higher income, better education, or family with kids return to the road slower than the opposite group. Overall, for the whole Montreal regions and also the bridges, we can see that the average trip length has increased. From the hourly profile plot, we see that AM peak period shifted and the non-toll bridge returned to normal profile faster than the toll bridge. So as of the future work, we're actually planning to do the same analysis for Washington DC regions on our assets and also continue monitoring the impact in 2021.